Yeah, so the line is a massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution.
Oh, yeah, that is crazy to say. I will say that.
Just based off of just thinking logically, if they found an issue with the state's votes, why didn't they recall their electors?
I don't know, and I don't.
Why did the governor in a
That is
meeting with
something.
Donald Trump say that they shouldn't
That's
recall the
something
electors because they
That's
hadn't
something
found
I'm
Donald
upset
Trump?
about seeing this video.
So can I ask a question?
Oh yeah. Hey, Reynold, how are you?
I'm doing okay. A little scared for the fate of our country, but I want to know, how do you feel about Donald Trump saying that he'd be willing to terminate the Constitution?
When did he say that?
In December on Truth Social, December 2022.
You said he would terminate the Constitution.
He floated the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution.
Let's see here.
I can read the whole post. I have it up.
Do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? Is that the thing, or?
Yeah. So it says, so with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception, and working so closely with big tech companies, the DNC, and the Democrat Party, do you throw the presidential election results out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections.
So he's saying he would terminate the Constitution?
He's saying that he would be he's playing a little coy here, but it's pretty clear what he's floating is that, okay, this 2020 election was completely rigged against me and it was stolen from me. So should we terminate the Constitution so I can rerun the election, or should we terminate the Constitution so I can just declare myself the winner? Because
well, his statement is, our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that say?
Continue reading the rest of it. Don't just stop.
Why are you only reading the last line of it?
I'm on a CNN article, sorry.
Yeah, so the line is a massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution.
Oh, yeah, that is crazy to say. I will say that. But we also have checks and balances, so the president can't do that. So.
Okay, so are we confident enough in our checks and balances to where we're allowed to vote in a wannabe dictator?
He's not a wannabe dictator. The reason why he believes there was fraud is because every single court case that he went to was dismissed on standing. If you look at
it, also on evidentiary grounds,
they didn't even go through with any of them.
So is standing not important?
None of them had a trial. There's a YouTube clip that, let me see if I can drop the link in here. On December 30th of 2020, the Georgia State Senate held a meeting about election fraud. It went on for 5.5 hours.
Is that the one that Rudy Giuliani was speaking at?
No, this is the Georgia State Senate. They had basically 100 other people who had been looking at the election, who had been determining all the statistics. And in this, they show time after time that Georgia has had fraud because, let me pull up one of them.
So I guess my question is if we were so confident in Donald Trump's fraud findings, why would he not be able to bring a case that didn't have standing to bring the case?
I don't know.
Is it possibly because all of the cases are bullshit and no evidence has been released outside of those cases either?
Well, we had the vote on November 5th or 6th, and the new person gets sworn in 2 months. The likelihood that you're going to be able to go through an entire trial, it's not going to happen before January 6th.
But they were dismissed on standing. So they didn't even have the standing to bring the suits.
Yeah, but for what reason are they being dismissed for? Because I saw a lot of more because it said that Trump had to represent himself. He couldn't have a lawyer or things like that. But just saying that because they're dismissed on standing, you can't say that 100% means that nothing happened in Georgia.
That's true. But that's not the isolated situation. You also had all of the independent firms that he hired to investigate the election saying that it wasn't stolen, or all of the recounts that the states did saying that it wasn't stolen, and his own DOJ and DHS saying that it wasn't stolen, his own vice president, his own daughter. There was no evidence that it was stolen. All of the major claims that he brought up, even as a part of the ellipse speech, were all bullshit, including like the Ruby Freeman case, which Rudy Giuliani openly admitted that he lied about.
So Georgia State Senate, I'm going to share my screen real quick. This is from December. I need to figure out how to do this and turn off the background. How do I, give me 1 second. Effects, green screen. We're going to get rid of this. Okay, so this is one clip from the 5.5 hour meeting. The Georgia State Senate unanimously voted that they were not, what is this stupid effect? I'm sorry. That they were not going to certify the vote because, as seen here, along with 5.5 hours of other things, the percent of Biden votes per precinct. We had one precinct with 90 to 93. We had 51 precincts vote 94% Biden. We had 36 precincts vote 95% and 36% vote 96 to 100. And then he goes on to state, this is an election specialist that, where's the next one? Receiving 75% or more. Yes, here we go. Receiving 75% or more in a single precinct is abnormal. Yet we have hundreds of precincts voting over 90% for Biden in Georgia alone. Georgia,
They did certify the vote though, right?
the electors did, not the state Senate.
Is the state Senate responsible for certifying electors?
They certify electors, but that's before this happens. This is on December 30th.
So why didn't they recall the electors?
I don't know.
If there was fraud that the state Senate had found, why didn't they recall the electors? There's a process by which you do that.
Maybe it's 6 days before the election. I don't know.
You're allowed to recall your electors up until January 6th.
This is a video you can go and watch yourself, and that's not Georgia. Georgia's not even as bad as Pennsylvania was. Pennsylvania.
Well, I can't be familiar with every single. Just based off of like just thinking logically, if they found an issue with the state's votes, why didn't they recall their electors?
I don't know, and I don't.
Why did the governor in a meeting with Donald Trump say that they shouldn't?
That's something I'm upset about seeing this video. If they unanimously vote in this video to not certify the vote, why was it certified 6 days later? That's something I have I don't know why either. But in this video, you literally see 5 hours of evidence of people like that showing clear suspicious activity, at least something to be looked
into. Suspicious activity does not make fraud, to be clear. And all of the Georgia state investigators didn't find fraud either, right?
So you think that Biden received over 90% and over 100 precincts?
It's not just me that thinks that.
Yeah, but you just think that because that was the result.
Because that was the result certified by the state.
Certified by the state?
Yes.
After they unanimously said they weren't going to certify it, though. But is that?
I don't even know what video you're talking about. If you send me a link, I'll look into it. But I mean, at the end of the day, all of the state's electors were certified and then never recalled.
Yes, but do you not have a problem with the validity of it if 6 days prior they're saying they're not going to certify it? And
not when there were so many independent people certifying it outside of the state.
In Pennsylvania, over the 63-day count for mail-in votes, Trump lost a 750,000 vote lead.
So there's a claim. This is called. There's a term for this. It's called election fraud whack-a-mole, where everyone's going as soon as somebody makes a claim and it gets debunked, there's already 6 more claims that people make. You can't keep up with all of the election fraud claims that everyone's ever gonna, spew out. But the thing is that they certified all of their electors, and none of them were ever recalled. And all of the state investigators said that the election was worthy, and the DHS and the DOJ said it, and all of the state legislatures were even arguing with Trump when he was asking them to decertify their votes. Republicans, and they still refused. Why wouldn't they just decertify the votes if it was an untrustworthy election?
There's timestamp vote counts on these as well. There's just hours of this footage, hours upon hours upon hours of this footage. And when the cases are being brought, they're just being dismissed on standing. But Literally 5 hours of footage here, etc. So that was Georgia. I don't know why they certified it, because in this video, I can send it to you in your DMs after this. They literally say they're not going to certify it. So that's a big problem I had. But Pennsylvania, the amount of votes that you would have to receive at such a high percentage to overcome 750,000 votes, it's ridiculous. But whether the election was stolen or not, I can totally see why he thinks it was, because we took 63 days to count the vote.
Would you support him declaring martial law to rerun the election?
No. He can't do it, though.
I'm pretty sure the president could declare martial law, but
I'm saying he cannot rerun the election. We have checks and balances.
but you're fine with voting him in, even though he wants to violate the Constitution in order to rerun the election. That's fine with you.
No, he's not.
His live is paused, but
Sorry.
his live is paused, but
Sorry, I had low battery. I need to go get my charger.
yeah,
But so, what were we talking about, like, prior? Are you voting for Kamala simply because you don't like Trump, or are there?
I want to vote for the next most likely candidate that isn't a wannabe dictator.
Okay, so even though let's say outside of, you think that he's going to overthrow the government, what else would you point to other than him denying the election? Because we've had a lot of people deny the election.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that you're completely allowed to deny the election. You're just not allowed to advocate for illegal activity in denying the election. So the problem wasn't him saying the election was stolen from me. The problem was him saying that the election was stolen from me, so I should be able to terminate the Constitution, or the election was stolen from me, so we should put the sole power to determine which electors are fraudulent and which ones aren't in Mike Pence's hands. That's the problem with Donald Trump. That's why he wants to be a dictator, is because he's centralizing power to take the election away from the states, which I thought conservatives loved. The elections are supposed to be run by the states, but Donald Trump's trying to centralize the power in the federal government to run the election, and coincidentally, in him and the vice president to make the determination as to what election results are valid and which ones aren't.
Oh, sorry, I had water go down the wrong pipe.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, fuck.
So are you like familiar with like the fraudulent electors?
Yeah.
So how is that not like insane? Like, how is that not disqualifying?
I haven't heard a lot about it. I heard people say he tried to send them, but again, it didn't work because we have checks and balances.
But he did advocate for the vice president to unilaterally make the decision that his fraudulent electors were certified, even though they were never certified by the state.
Checks and balances, it didn't work. Like,
okay, so if we have enough checks and balances, you're willing to vote in someone who wants to centralize power in the presidency. You're just going to have faith that it won't work.
Him denying an election?
Nope, no, not denying an election. Trying to put the fate of the election in the hands of him and the vice president.
By saying that the election is false?
No, by sending fraudulent electorate slates and trying to get the vice president to unilaterally certify them.
Was Trump ever actually charged with that though?
Yeah, it's part of the conspiracy case, the big federal one with Jack Smith. That's part of the conspiracy.
And was he charged with it?
Yes. Well, I mean, no, not charged with it. He was indicted with it, but we have all of the evidence from the J6 committee as well. And we literally have all of the fraudulent certificates of ascertainment. Like, we have scans of them. We have video of the Trump electors meeting in the state capitol under hush-hush. We have text messages of Chesborough telling the electors not to talk to the media because we don't want this in broad daylight. We have testimony from Greg Jacob, Mike Pence's legal counsel, saying that Eastman admitted that the proposal would lose with zero approval from the Supreme Court. Not a single judge would rule in his favor from the Supreme Court. And we have testimony that one of the White House staffers asked Eastman if we should, like, as part of one of Trump's legal challenges, if they should bring up the issue of if the vice president has power to do that. And Eastman said no, because we don't want the chances of them saying that he can't.
Wait, I thought the vice president was able to certify the vote or not, though.
Not like that. He doesn't have the say as to which specific slates of electors are fraudulent or non-fraudulent without sending it off to Congress to debate.
Well, I thought it was just like whether or not he's going to certify the electors' votes.
He does not have the power to do that unilaterally.
Okay. So the vice president can say like whether an elector is fake or not?
Well, just by extension of it not having state certification, it's fake. So that's not Mike Pence's say. That's the state's say. They didn't send those electors, so they're fraudulent.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not super educated on that whole thing.
But if grant what I'm saying is true, that's insane, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to put the fate of the election in the vice president's hands alone. That's insane, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
And then going on to say that we should be able to terminate the Constitution to rerun the election to give it back to the rightful winner. That's insane, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it speaks to Trump wanting to centralize power, right?
How is he trying to centralize power with that?
Because he's trying to put the election's hands either in his hands via the termination of the Constitution and the implementation of martial law, or in the vice president's hand, who is his right-hand man. That would be a centralization of power in the president's. Because he's taking power away from Congress to debate the certification of those electors, and away from the state governors who certify those electors, and putting it in the hands of his right-hand man.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
And then, so there's also a thing where he tried to present the attorney general a letter telling Georgia their election results were stolen or were invalid. And the attorney general told Donald Trump, hey, the DOJ has looked into these claims and we haven't found any evidence of fraud like you're claiming. So we're not going to put the DOJ stamp of approval on that letter. He said, okay. And then he went to the deputy attorney general to asking him to do the same thing. And the deputy attorney general told him the same thing. Then he tried to fire the attorney general and replace him with the dude that wrote the letter because he said that he would send the letter. That feels like an unprecedented, like reaching into our three-letter agencies, right? Like telling the DOJ to lie to state legislatures for you.
Well, like I said, the state Senate for Georgia did unanimously vote that they weren't going to certify. What happened in those 6 days, I don't know. But
well, that's irrelevant here. He's trying to pressure the attorney general to send a letter that the DOJ has found no evidence for.
I'm pretty sure that Trump was aware of this meeting in Georgia.
But the DOJ said that they hadn't found any evidence of fraud, and he tried to ask the DOJ to send the letter.
Why would they say that if they just had a meeting?
Because believe it or not, there was no evidence of fraud.
Yeah, but they just had a meeting where they all said they found fraud.
Okay, I'd have to look at the video, but I'm just telling you, the attorney general told Donald Trump that the DOJ had found no fraud, and Donald Trump tried to fire the attorney general and replace him with someone who would tell the state legislature that they found fraud. So does that not feel like an improper communication between the president and the DOJ?
If there is nothing at all going on, yes. But again, the DOJ is saying that. I don't know why they say that if the state Senate has had a meeting saying that they did find fraud. Like that doesn't seem very
Can you post the link in your chat?
Yeah. All right, hold on. Are you going to be able to copy it in the comments?
Yeah, I have it pulled. I don't know if you care about this. I have it pulled up on my computer.
Okay. HTTPS. Sorry, it's going to take me a minute to type it out.
Yeah, it's no problem.
.YouTube.
Or if it's a YouTube video, just tell me what the title of it is, and I can pull it up.
Well, I had to put it in my watch later because whenever I search it on YouTube, it is so hard to find. /live. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube first before I type all this out. Okay. If you go to YouTube,
Yep.
Are you there?
Yep.
All right. Type Georgia State Senate.
Gotcha.
Holds meeting on 2020 election fraud. 12-30-20. Do you see the 5.5 hour video?
Yeah.
Okay. If you skip all the way to the end is when they're talking about whether or not they're going to certify it. And my computer doesn't play sound, so if you want to play sound, that'd be cool. But let me turn on, can't turn on closed captions. But so this, like, I don't understand why they certified it with this being a meeting that took place. There was also with Georgia, forget who it was. It was somebody in government in Georgia had tweeted out that there was only 25,000 military ballots left to be counted. And at that time, I took a screenshot of it because Trump had like an 18,000 vote lead. And I'm like, okay, well, if Trump has an 18,000 vote lead, there's 25,000 votes left to be counted, and they're military. Biden would have to get, what is that, 20? He would have to get like a very high percentage of those ballots in order to win. If he's down by 18,000 and there's 25,000 left, he would have to get, what is that, like 23,000 of those votes. And over the next like 3 days, there's 75,000 more votes counted in Georgia. There's just a lot of things that who knows what side benefited from all this stuff, but the amount of time it took to count these, the amount of eyewitness testimony here in Georgia, Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, there was Republican poll watchers who were not allowed inside the Philadelphia polling station. They were locked out of the building. There's a lot of things that went on that make a lot of people question.
Well, it's fine to. I have no problem with people.
Trump saying those things is crazy. I will agree with you on that. But like, I stayed up on election night and watched it. Trump was winning 10 of 12 swing states, and at 3 a.m. I watched like 6 different swing states just flip. Wisconsin was one of them. They were at like 98% reporting when Trump had a 47,000 vote lead or something like that. And then at 99%, Biden's got like a 30,000 vote lead. It's just, I stayed up on election night and watched this and I was like, what the hell is happening? 1% vote and Biden's now got 70,000 more votes than Trump has. It's like, there's a lot of this weird stuff that happened. And I don't agree with him saying that the Constitution should be rewritten or things like that. But again, I think with checks and balances, that's more of a threat than certain things that the left has done that is kind of sly that take time. Like with how soft we are on immigration, the border bill that everybody says like Trump killed, it would have given amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants in the U.S. And with how many illegal immigrants are in the U.S., if they're in swing states, those are no longer swing states. They're now blue states, like hard blue states, because they're going to vote for the people who let them into the country. I think that is something that is a pretty big threat rather than, I think it's more of a threat than something that is going to be checked by checks and balances. I really do not like how soft Biden and Harris have been on immigration, because like everybody's like, oh, we need secure borders, we need secure borders. We do need secure borders. That's the big thing. But the softer you are on immigration, once those people somehow get amnesty or whatever they're going to do, they're going to vote Democrat, and you're no longer going to have swing states.
So I guess the thing is that like I have no problem with Donald Trump challenging the results of the election. That's never been my problem with him. It's stooping down to illegal activity whenever any of the people that are delegated to investigate this election fraud found nothing, and then he wants to break the law in order to make himself president again. I feel like saying that that is less of a threat than allowing immigrants in is I'd call that anti-American, because I feel like whenever we see somebody chipping away at the democratic foundations of this country, we kind of have to listen to them whenever they say who they are. And Donald Trump has already said that he wants to be a dictator on day one. He already said that he wants to terminate the Constitution. He already tried to illegally overturn the results of the 2020 election. All of the people that he talked to told him specific claims that he was bringing up were bullshit, and then he went on to repeat those same exact claims in speeches. Even like independent firms that he asked to investigate the election fraud found nothing, and then he tried to cover the results that they found. The context of this Georgia State Senate meeting, I have to look into further, because I mean, just logically, I feel like the timeline isn't making sense. Why would they vote to decertify, but then not decertify? That doesn't make sense to me. So I'd have to look into the context in which these Georgia State Senate meetings were held, because I know there was also a lot of quote unquote evidentiary hearings that were held by Rudy Giuliani and like Sidney Powell and Jenna Ellis, that turned out to all just be like bullshit. Like not even like legally binding bullshit, just bullshit. So I'd have to see if this is one of them. But I've got to go. My phone's gonna die.
Yeah, you're good. Real quick,
to catch, but
real quick, the dictator comment. He didn't say he's going to be a dictator for one day. He says that's out of context, because they say you're not going to be a dictator, are you? Trump said, no. Other than day one, we're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
Yeah, but I don't think that context is very exculpatory.
That's
because he literally does say, except for day one. So he does say that he wants to be a dictator day one.
He says, we're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
Why would you have to be a dictator to do jobs that are allocated to you by the Constitution?
The Senate and Congress were fighting him hard on the border.
So he would need to be a dictator in order to do what he wants to do, right?
But again, he can't.
So he does want to be a dictator. So that the point of fighting me on that claim, I don't get it.
Again, he can't.
It doesn't matter if he can or can't. I don't want to vote in like a wannabe fascist dictator just on the hopes that our institutions will be strong enough. I think they will be too, but I think we set a bad precedent by electing someone who openly says he wants to be a dictator and that he wants to terminate the Constitution, just because we don't like Mexicans coming into the country.
Well,
listen, I gotta go. But it's